is a question that is often addressed to me wherever I go, particularly by the youngsters. They ask me this question and say, yes sir, it is all right. But you know, there is a problem with our scriptures, there is a problem with our shastras. They tell you to give up everything and then they say that go and sit on the top of Himalayas and concentrate on your nose or on the center of your eyebrows. How can we do that? We have to stay in society, we have to earn money, and money is the most important thing in life. To them my answer has always been, no. Money is only a means to happiness. Money is not the end, not the goal. Unfortunately, the confusion in society today is that all of us think that money is the ultimate objective, and as soon as money is attained, happiness prevails. I assure you that doesn't prevail. If today the Somaya family is happy, it's not because they have a big bank balance. They have done something of value to the society. They have done something of service to humanity. I had the privilege of meeting Shantirajji's father. He was a happy man, not because his sons were influential, because he had a lot of money, but because he was doing something in service to humanity. And again, money. How much of money is necessary? To that also our Shastras give an answer. The answer is, akritva parasantapam agatva khalamandiram anutsrijya satamvartma yat swalpamapi tadbahu. Without causing pain or distress to fellow human beings, without having to go and beg before an unworthy person, without having to deviate from the norms laid down by our saintly people, yet swalpamapi, if you can earn a little bit, that is bahu, that is much more than enough for you. That was the norm that was laid down by us. That was the norm that was the thinkers in India gave us. That is the fundamental value in education which needs to be transmitted from generation to generation, not this chase for the mirage of money. And finally, I may add one very interesting verse from Bhartrihari that my father taught me when I was a very, very young kid of say 6-7 years old. This is in the form of an imaginary dialogue between a learned man and Bhagavati Lakshmi. You know, Lakshmi is the goddess of wealth. She is the one who gives you money, wealth, prosperity, material prosperity. And by definition, learned men are poor. I don't know why, but it is always so. Even in those days it was like that. Today, of course, it is there. So the learned man looks at the lady and says, Padme mudha janeshu dadasi dravinam vidvatsu kim matsaraha. He says, oh Mahalakshmi, you are always in the habit of giving money to fools. What, are you jealous of learned men? So the lady looks at him, gives him a bright smile and says, Naham matsarini nachapi chapala naivasti murkhe ratihi. I am not matsarini, I don't have jealousy against learned people. Nor am I fickle-minded as people assume me to be. Naivasti murkhe ratihi. Nor do I have any special affinity for fools. But I confess, I admit, Murkhebhyo dravinam dadami nitaram. I always give money to fools. Tatkaranam shruyatam. Kindly, carefully listen to the reason. Vidwan sarvajaneshu pujita tanuhu. A learned man is respected wherever he goes. Murkhasya nanyagatihi. If a fool has nothing else, therefore I give him a lot of money. But my father used to add one footnote. He used to say, the converse is not necessarily true. So all rich men are not fools, though there may be a large number of fools who are rich. So friends, it gives me indeed great pleasure to be a part of this celebration. 75 years have rolled by when this institution has served humanity in the cause of education, in the cause of spreading the cultural values of this great country. Shantirajji was showing me his future plans of how he intends to carry on with this with redoubled dedication, redoubled vigor. I admire him, I salute him. He is the worthy son of a great worthy man. And I request all of you to join me in offering our prayers to the Lord Almighty that this institution may grow in strength, this institution may grow from day to day and may become one of the model institutions not only in this country but all over the world, and produce students who will be model citizens of this country, model citizens of the world. May God bless all of you.
Thank you.
For me, today is a very important day, so I think I'm not normal. So I'll miss quite a few things what I want to tell you. First, I already mentioned that we want to be a deemed university very soon, and we'll be having a meeting after 1 hour. Sasi Bhagwati may bless the program. Then we have bought land in Kota, Gujarat, Adipur and Delhi. So we want to promote 3 new Vidya Vihars in India. Now, I want to make that particular announcement, and I do hope you will have your blessings. Let this next 50 years be very productive. Let us be spread in India. We want to also go out of India. We are looking at the land in Mauritius. We have been offered. Mr. Nasim has already seen the sites. So we do want to have international collaboration. We already have Monash, Australia, and Silpcon in Thailand, and I can name different universities with which we have programs. So we want to strengthen that international relation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Somaya, for that pleasant introduction. I shouldn't call it introduction, for the pleasant announcement. And thank you, Sir Justice Sri Krishna, for your very incisive observations. In fact, lofty they were. You began with Will Durant's definition of education as a transmission of values, and you raised one very pertinent question, and that was, is money the goal of success in life? That's perhaps where the rub lies today, in the blind pursuit of material happiness, which dominates and preoccupies the mind of many youngsters. Who is an educator? One who educes. The word educes means the one who brings out the latent talents of an individual and to develop a rounded personality. One who imparts instruction in a dry manner is not an educator, perhaps not even a teacher. Which brings me to the lines of T.S. Eliot, where is the knowledge we have lost in information? Where is the life we have lost in living? Where is the wisdom that we have lost in living? Lost in knowledge. I remembered, as I was listening to you, Justice Krishna, the observations of the Kothari Commission in 1960s. They made a very important observation, which I quote: the educational system today is shorn of moral and spiritual values, serves only a dishonest elite, and is a disgrace to the teacher and to the taught. We cannot enthuse our youngsters with an annual growth of 8.5% in our economy. Neither the infighting or the cacophonous noises in the political marketplace can mean anything to a young man. But we have to teach the youngsters the sovereignty of the soul within. That's perhaps what, sir, you are emphasizing in your very lucid exposition. Much of it I couldn't understand. Frankly, I admit my ignorance of understanding the nuances and the subtleties of Sanskrit language, for which I can only pity myself and do nothing more. Thank you once again, sir, for your very fine and brilliant Golden Jubilee address. Now,